Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're diving into The Book of Man by Osho. And just a heads up, this isn't your typical self-help book.
Not at all. Osho really challenges the usual ways of thinking, Like, he takes familiar ideas, say, the story of Adam and Eve, and flips them around to show us something deeper about ourselves and the world.
So about Adam and Eve, what's Osho's angle there?
Well, he doesn't see Adam as literally the first man. It's more like Adam represents anyone who just accepts what society throws at them. We follow all the rules, fit in. But we might be losing ourselves in the process. Think of it like a garden. Everything seems perfect on the surface, right? But underneath, you might feel kind of empty, like something's missing. Osho wants us to recognize that trap.
So we're trading our true selves for a comfy, but ultimately shallow existence.
Right. And the way out, according to Osho, having the guts to say no, even if it makes waves or people think you're weird. Have you ever felt that pressure to conform, like at work or even with family? Did you speak up or go along with it? Osho's work really pushes us to think about those times and find the courage to be more genuine.
Speaking of courage, Osho faced a ton of pushback for his views.
Oh, absolutely. He thought that resistance came from a fear of real individuality, both in us and other people. When someone challenges the norm, it can be unnerving, makes us face our own insecurities.
Did he have any advice on handling that pushback, whether it's from within or from others, when you do break free?
He did. Osho was big on questioning. Don't just accept things blindly, even if they come from your parents, teachers, the government. Question everything, even your own deeply held beliefs. That's how you break free from those patterns and make space for something new.
That questioning seems to be a big part of his work. And he didn't hold back on criticizing things like religion, politics, even family structures.
No, he didn't. He saw those institutions as often continuing the very conditioning he wanted people to escape. Now, he wasn't saying to ditch all social structures. He knew we need some order, but he saw how those systems, even if they started with good intentions, can turn into traps, squashing our uniqueness and creativity.
So then how do we balance that need for structure with that urge for self-expression?
Osho thought it starts with being aware. We have to see how these systems affect our thoughts, beliefs, actions. Once we see those patterns, then we can decide how we want to deal with them.
So it's about awareness and then making choices about those systems. But Osho didn't stop there, did he? He had some pretty radical alternatives in mind.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely a boundary pusher. He wanted to shake people up, make them think differently. Osho felt like sometimes you need that jolt to break out of old habits.
And you mentioned before he used Adam and Eve to talk about that societal conditioning. What are some other examples from his work that show that idea of breaking free?
Well, he talked a lot about finding that natural spontaneity again, that childlike joy and wonder that we lose as adults. He thought if we could reconnect with that playful side, it'd unlock all this creativity and authenticity.
But how do you actually do that? It's not like we can just snap our fingers and become kids again. We have responsibilities, work, the whole 9 yards.
No, you're right. It's not about going backwards. It's bringing that spirit into our adult lives. Osho had some exercises for this. He said to try approaching things with a beginner's mind as if you're seeing them for the first time. Have you ever really looked at a tree? Really seen it, the bark, the leaves, everything? That's the kind of attention he's talking about.
It's true. We get so used to things, we don't really see them anymore.
Yeah. And when you break out of that, that's when you see new possibilities.
It's interesting because Osho himself used some unusual methods too, like humor or even shock to kind of disrupt people's expectations. Didn't he once hit one of his disciples on the head? That one always gets me.
Oh yeah, classic Osho. It shows exactly how he'd try to get people unstuck. Picture this, he's with this disciple and suddenly, bam, whacks him on the head. Disciple's totally thrown off, thoughts go blank. And in that blankness, something clicks. He has this insight, a moment of enlightenment.
Like those Zen riddles, the koans, that are supposed to break through your logical thinking.
Exactly. Osho knew sometimes words aren't enough. You need an experience to wake you up.
So it's about messing with those ingrained patterns, the habits that keep us stuck.
Yes. And sometimes you need a jolt to do it. Now, he wasn't saying to go around hitting people, obviously. It's a metaphor for getting out of your comfort zone, being willing to challenge what you think you know.
And challenging things goes back to his critique of institutions, right? He saw them as reinforcing those limiting beliefs.
Totally. He thought a lot of systems, like education, politics, are set up to create followers, people who won't cause trouble. And while he knew we need some structure, he saw how easy it is to get trapped in those systems, to lose yourself trying to fit in.
So how do we find that balance then? How do we deal with these systems without losing ourselves?
That is the question, isn't it? I think for Osho, it goes back to awareness. Seeing how these systems work in our lives, and then deciding how we want to work with them, knowing we have a choice, we don't have to just blindly follow. We can live authentically true to ourselves.
It's like taking ownership of your life, being an active participant instead of just going with the flow.
Absolutely. And that includes your spiritual side, too. Osho talked about the new man, his idea for a more conscious, awakened humanity. Part of that is being able to live in both the material and the spiritual worlds, to embrace it all without going to extremes.
Okay, now I got to hear more about this new man. What exactly did he mean by that? Was it literal, like a new kind of human, or more of an ideal?
Good question. And it's something we can definitely dig into more as we go further with Osho's teachings.
That new man concept, you can't just leave me hanging like that. What did Osho mean by it?
Okay, so think of it less like a checklist of qualities and more like a total shift in how we think. Imagine a world where people aren't ruled by ego or fitting in, where it's not all about competition and stuff. That's the core of what he was getting at.
So more of an internal change than an outward one.
Yeah.
Not about superpowers, but about seeing everything differently.
Exactly. And for Osho, this wasn't some far-off thing that took years of crazy discipline. He thought anyone could do it right now if we could just quiet our minds and find that inner wisdom. He talked about meditation as a key to that.
You know, when I hear meditation, I picture mountaintop retreats and all that. Was that what he meant? Or something more, I don't know, doable?
He wasn't hung up on any strict way of meditating. It was more about bringing that awareness into everyday life. Noticing your thoughts and feelings without judging them, being present in the moment, even just doing the dishes or waiting in line at the store,
So the same kind of focus, but on whatever you're doing, not trying to escape from life.
Right. And that mindfulness, that ability to just observe without getting carried away, that's huge for developing self-awareness. And Osho believed that was the foundation for everything. He said knowing yourself comes before knowing anything else. Once you get yourself, that's when you can break free from the stuff that's holding you back.
Know thyself. It's like that old saying, but it sounds like it was really central to what Osho taught.
It absolutely was. And for him, it wasn't just about feeling good, although that's important too. He saw it as how we make the world a better place. He said, when you are joyful, when you are celebrating life, you are not only happy, you are sharing your happiness with existence itself.
So it's not selfish work on yourself, it's actually the opposite, like a gift to everyone.
That was his view, yeah. The more we tap into our own potential for love, compassion, creativity, the more we help humanity wake up too, like a ripple effect.
I love that. And it connects back to that new man idea, someone who's both self-aware and part of something bigger.
Yeah, that connection to something bigger was crucial for Osho. He saw it as the antidote to how isolated and disconnected people feel, especially these days.
So where do we go from here? How do we take all this and actually live it? It's a lot. And the world doesn't always make it easy.
I think it's baby steps, Pick one thing from Osho that clicks with you. Maybe it's mindfulness or questioning things or even just bringing more fun into your life.
It's not about becoming Osho 2.0 or some perfectly spiritual being. It's finding your own way to live these ideas out.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a finish line. There'll be good days and bad days, confusion, clarity. The point is to keep going, keep exploring, and stay open to what's possible.
Well, this deep dive into the Book of Man has definitely given me a lot to think about. Thanks for being here and sharing your insights. It's been great.
My pleasure. And for everyone listening, that journey of self-discovery never ends. As Osho said, be courageous, be adventurous, explore the whole of life.